Go to Kisha Supernant in Edmonton, Alberta. She's the director of the University of Alberta's Institute of Prairie and Indigenous Archaeology. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. Firstly, Canada, as we know, has a very sordid history with Indigenous people. What more do we know about how this discovery came about?
Well, yes, there's a long history of the residential school system and related systems that have attempted to assimilate Indigenous peoples and have done great damage. This is just another piece of information, that legacy that survivors have known for a long time, but is finally coming to light in a new way with the application of some of this ground-penetrating radar technology and communities wanting to relocate where these children's graves might be.
Now, I read out there just a moment ago Prime Minister Trudeau's response to this terrible discovery. How has the Canadian government responded to the terrible discoveries that we've had in the past as well?
So the Canadian government, obviously, we had our Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and through that process, there has been some funding and some emphasis on addressing. There were 94 calls to action to the government and organizations to address the legacy. And the federal government has recently recommitted some funding for communities to pursue learning more about where these burial places may be. But there is still a need, I think, for a national and potentially international oversight as to how this is happening, because these graves of children are all across the country, and we need to learn more about them.
So what is the First Nations community calling for, not only in response to this latest discovery, but the others that we've found in the past?
I think many First Nations and Indigenous communities broadly are asking for support, but also calling for justice and for accountability. Many of these schools were run by churches with support from the federal government in Canada. And so there is definitely call on churches to take a more active role in making records available around these schools, but also for apologizing and for being held to account for the deaths of these children, and also the legacy for survivors who often had really horrific experiences in these schools.
Okay, Kisha Supernant, we will have to leave it there, but thank you so much for sharing with us your thoughts on TRT World.